Hey guys, this is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps, and welcome back to our unit by unit breakdown of Space Wolves in Ninth Edition. I've gone through quite a bit of different Dreadnought types, but it's time. I've waited long enough. The king of the Dreadnoughts. We better go over him. He actually has a couple tricks in the Space Wolves army specifically that make him actually super dangerous. We're going to go over his lore. We're going to go over his stats, different loadouts. He's got a bunch of different weapons he can bring. How I personally use him on the battlefield, different ways I've seen people use him on the battlefield, and what to think of him going forward with a lot of the new Ninth Edition Space Marine stuff being leaked, and how Dreadnoughts are getting a huge buff. My Dreadnought army is about to be a lot more powerful, a lot scarier, a lot tougher. But yes, we will go through all that. So sit back, relax, grab a beer, um, pet your dog, Sons of Russ, and let's go over it. Created in limited numbers in the latter days of the Great Crusade, the Leviathan pattern Siege Dreadnought was developed in secret on Terra, away from the pervasive oculars of the Mechanicum. Its massive frame incorporates hybridized technologies, some dating back into the dim past of humanity. Towering over later Imperial Walker patterns, this heavy, armored dreadnought is savagely powerful. It was designed for siege warfare and primarily armed with close combat and support weaponry that can rend buildings, vehicles, and flesh alike, though it is no less effective when armed with the powerful and esoteric short-range weaponry uniquely developed for it. The Leviathan's oversized reactor allows it to bear weapons more powerful than other classes of dreadnought, and also powers reinforced energy fields that surpass those developed for the Contemptor class. Power has its cost, though, and the systems of the Leviathan place a lethal level of strain on the minds of its occupants. Those few examples that survive in the armories of Space Marine chapters into the 41st millennium are reserved for the direst of circumstances. Marines who find themselves interred within a Leviathan will pay a heavy toll, either with their life or their reason. Okay, so I'm first going to go over the way I build my Leviathan, and to be honest, it's by far the most popular way that you see Leviathans being run. They have lots of different types of weapons, but the most common you see is with 2 heavy flamers and 2 storm cannon arrays. It's 350 points, 18 power level, and let's go through its abilities. It has Reinforce Automantic Barriers. This model has a 4+ invulnerable save. Yeah, 4+. If you've been looking at all the leaks and things, you know that Eradicators are going to be a real problem. But this has the one thing that can help against all that Melta, and that's a 4+ invulnerable save. So, gotta love that. It also comes with smoke launchers, nothing big. Alright, Explosion, Automantic Conflagration, dice roll 5+. So explodes on a 5, guys. Distance 9 inches, D3 mortal wounds. Pretty awesome. Alright, so its movement is 8, but it does get bracketed as it takes wounds. So it goes from 8 to 5 to 3. Weapon skill is 2+. Ballistic skill is 2+. Now both of those get bracketed as well. They both go from 2+ to 3+ to 4+. Strength and toughness 8. Wounds 14. Attacks 2. Leadership 8. And save 2+. So it has a 2+, 4+, with 8 toughness and 14 wounds. Now, let's talk about the defense. That already was very frustrating. People would pop the 1 CP Duty Eternal Stratagem for -1 damage basically every single time he got targeted. But we just learned from some leaks and from some battle reports that have the books early that that is no longer a stratagem, and instead all dreadnoughts just come with -1 damage. I'm going to say that again. What used to be the best stratagem that I had to save CP for every single time and make sure I used it on the Leviathan, and meanwhile other dreadnoughts got hit hard, every dreadnought just comes with Duty Eternal now. So they all have a -1 damage special ability. It's amazing. So now this guy is T8, 14 wounds, -1 damage, 4 up invulnerable save. The other thing we learned is that rerolls from your chapter master, from your captains, and from your lieutenants will only affect core keyword units. But one thing we learned is that dreadnoughts have the core keyword. Oh man. So a lot of people are going to lose their rerolls, but not my dreadnought army. So this guy, all right, so he has 2 heavy flamers. It's nice, you know what it does. But the dual storm cannon array. Now these are 24-inch range, heavy 10, strength 7, -2, flat 2 damage, and he has 2 of them. So this guy shoots 20 strength 7 shots that are -2, flat 2. Nowadays, -2, flat 2. I mean, it's still the sweet spot. There's a lot of 3-wound Marines coming out that are T5 that are pretty scary. But for the vast majority of Marines, which, let's be honest, that's really what you need a game plan for, they're going to be 2-wound models. So having 20 damage 2 shots that hit on 2s, re-rolling because you have the core keyword and you're going to be near characters, unbelievable. Now, I will admit, I have not personally seen that the Relic Leviathan has the core keyword. I just know from some very trustworthy channels that are doing battle reports that just kind of blanketly said that dreadnoughts have the core keyword. So this is technically Forge World, so we're not actually positive yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and assume that it is a dreadnought and it's gonna have all the same abilities that other dreadnoughts have. I mean, it's the king of the dreadnoughts. It's the #1 dreadnought. So that is why that one is so popular. It has 20 strength 7 shots that hit on 2s, usually re-rolling. I've had a game personally where he went like 60 for 60 because he had re-rolls. So just never missing all game, just deleting entire units of Marines, or even if you're not playing Marines, 20 strength 7 -2 flat 2 shots into a unit of Orc boys is still really good. So let's look at some other options. So another way you could equip him is with the Cyclonic Melta Lance. So Cyclonic Melta Lance, range 18, heavy 2d3, strength 9, AP -4, damage d6, and it has the Melta ability where if you're within half range, so if you're within 9 inches, it'll be 2d6, choose the highest on damage. So typically you dual wield. I know in the picture you're looking at right now, they did kind of an old school way of doing it, which is 1 combat weapon, 1 shooting weapon, but you typically see dual wielding. At least personally, that's what I've seen most of. So if you were to dual wield this, it's 4d3 shots, strength 9, -4, d6 damage. Pretty gross when you're hitting on 2s rerolling. The next one is the Grav Flux Bombard. It is 18-inch range, heavy d3, strength 9, AP -5, flat 2. So that'd be 2d3 if you're dual wielding, 2d3 shots at strength 9 -5 flat 2. Okay, right off the bat, that's pretty strong. It's pretty nasty, and it's only flat 2. That's obviously the weakness, and only d3 shots per gun. But let's get into the abilities of these guns because they are wild. First of all, blast, awesome. So you can just get those max amount of shots when you're shooting at anything bigger than MSU, basically. If the target model is a monster, vehicle, or Titanic keyword, then the amount of damage suffered from successful attacks becomes 5 per hit. For every 5 models in the target unit, add D3 to the number of attacks made by this weapon. Okay. Wow. So let's say you're shooting at 5 Primaris Marines. Okay. The heavy D3 goes up to heavy 2D3 because you add D3 to the attacks for every 5 models in the unit. So now when you're dual wielding, it's going to be 4d3 shots at strength 9 -5 flat 2. Amazing. It's a blast as well. So if you're shooting at like a normal sized unit, I guess 6 or more models, you're going to be looking at 12 shots. Okay, next. Monster vehicle or Titanic keyword, the damage goes from 2 up to 5. So you're shooting at a monster vehicle or Titanic, suddenly it's 2d3 shots at strength 9, -5 flat 5. What? This makes me want to pick up some of these. I'm going to have to 3D print some of these or find them on eBay. Grab Flux Bombard. I kind of want to try that. That sounds amazing. Just the -5 flat 5 is just kind of pops off the page. Makes you want to try it. The other thing I forgot to mention is that all of these can take up to 3 Hunter Killer missiles, which is awesome. They're about to go up to strength 10. That leaked, which is awesome. They're single fire only, but they're -2 d6 damage, 48-inch range. And when you're hitting on 2s, a lot of times rerolling, it's probably worth the 15 points to just launch 3 of these at a single vehicle and then your other guns at something else. Usually always worth it. The only times I find myself not paying the 15 points for the Hunter Killer missiles is if I could flesh out a full unit of like Fenrisian Wolves for 15 points, because I love throwing those guys on objectives. All right, let's take a look at their combat weapons. So, first one is the Leviathan Siege Claw. Its type is melee. Strength is ×2, so that'll be strength 16. AP -3, and damage flat 3. And it rerolls failed wound rolls against infantry. So, blender. One thing you'll notice is that when you go to dual wield combat weapons, the attacks go up to 4. So 5 with shock assault, which is pretty nasty. So it'd be 5 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 16, -3, flat 3, rerolling wounds. Pretty good. The Leviathan Siege Drill, on the other hand, is melee ×2, so strength 16, -4 flat 4 damage. I like that a lot more. Anytime you can see a flat number that's higher than 3, it's awesome. It also has an underslung melt-a-gun. We all know what a melt-a-gun does. Pretty cool. The problem is you got to pay for that. So what ends up happening is the combat versions are more expensive than the shooting versions. Well, actually, no. $325, sorry, for the 2 combat weapons. Not bad. So I'm going to add the dual Grav Flux Bombard into possible loadouts that I'm high on. I mean, that's awesome. So, all right. So let's see. If you were to do the 300 killer missiles on each type, the dual Storm Cannon Array one with 300 killer missiles is 365 points as of right now. I know the new book's coming, but it's Forge World, so those points may not update right off the bat. The other version with the dual Grav Flux Bombard and 300 killer missiles is 395 points. You're getting up there. I mean, 400 points, that's Magnus territory, that's Knight Titan territory. But in my opinion, it's worth it. These guns are powerful, and the defense on the Leviathan is so great. So what I find myself doing for most of my games is Bjorn, Murderfang, 3 Wolfen Dreadnoughts with the axes and shields, and Ragnar are pushing up the field, just being aggressive. But walking up the field with them is a Relic Leviathan Dreadnought, 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, all with the DACA loadout. And one thing we need to talk about is that Relic, any type of Relic unit has to have a non-Relic unit in the same category in the same detachment. So if you take a Relic Leviathan Dreadnought in your heavy support slot, you now have to take something else in heavy support that's not Relic in that same detachment. You have to. So what I do for my Space Wolves is I take a Mortis Dreadnought or a Mortis Contemptor Dreadnought, depending on how many points I have, and I just dual wield assault cannons. If it's a Mortis Contemptor Dreadnought, I dual wield Curie's assault cannons. So what ends up happening is I have the dual wield assault cannon Dreadnought, the dual wield Storm Cannon Array Dreadnought, and the 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, just laying out tons of firepower, just buckets of dice as my army moves up the field. I leave 2 or 3 units of Fenrisian Wolves out of line of sight on objectives, and we just push up. I have this ball of combat with the 3 Wolfen Dreadnoughts, Ragnar, Bjorn, and Murderfang, and then this ball of Daka with the triple Redemptor, Mortis Dreadnought, and Relic Leviathan Dreadnought. It has worked wonders. It has done amazing through 8th. It's done amazing through 9th. And now all of a sudden you're just going to tell me that all my Dreadnoughts are going to be -1 damage? Just a rule that gives them -1 damage? Wow, guys. Wow. Super powerful. Super powerful. It's already to the point where when I run a Leviathan in a friendly game, I make sure it's okay with my opponent because they are so powerful. If I were to run the combat version, I don't think I would have to bother bugging people about it. But if you're showing up to a friendly match, which means you're not testing out tournament lists, this thing is overpowered. And now that it's going to gain -1 damage just all the time, it's even more powerful. That being said, I think the Meltaguns on the Eradicators are going to be very, very, very popular soon. And they'll do pretty good against the Leviathans, but for Binville, you always have that chance to stop it. Now, if you're meeting up with someone who you know is a tournament player, like I met up with someone recently for a game against his Orcs, I just showed up with the dual-wield Relic Leviathan Dreadnought, no issues, because he's a tournament player, and both the lists were very, very good. I think the first turn, it shot its 300 killer missiles at one Orc truck, and both the Storm Cannon arrays at a second Orc truck and killed both of them on turn 1. So this thing is very, very powerful, even against non-infantry. But let's take a look at some stratagems that you can employ for the Relic Leviathan. All right, so first off, there's not much anymore, to be honest. You used to really rely on Duty Eternal. That was the -1 damage stratagem. Now it's just going to come with that. Now, that being said, if we find out down the road that the Forge World leaves off that ability for the Leviathan, this stratagem will still be okay to use. So you can still have that in your back pocket just in case you need it. I was going through the rest of the Psychic Awakening ones, and none of them really affect the Relic Leviathan. But when you go to the regular codex for Space Wolves, there's one that really, really stands out. And in my opinion, makes it maybe the most underrated way to use a Leviathan. And that is Keen Senses, Space Wolves stratagem. 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Choose a Space Wolves unit from your army. That unit does not suffer any penalties to its hit rolls this phase. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, obviously through 8th edition, people were doing the list of Iron Hands with Leviathan Dreadnoughts, and yes, Iron Hands might still be the king of the Relic Dreadnought, the best chapter to use. But if you already are using your Space Wolves and you want to add a Relic Leviathan, this Keen Senses is unbelievable because you're already hitting on a 2+. You're already re-rolling. Now you can pop 1 CP every turn. Just save a CP a turn for Keen Senses, and you ignore all modifiers. So if your opponent's zipping overhead with planes, you're just hitting on 2s re-rolling. Just shoot down the planes, no issues. If you're going up against Harlequins and those pesky guys are just hard to hit with all their minuses, pop Keen Senses, boom, no more -1 to hit. It's unbelievable. And you see a lot of terrain, a lot of the dense terrain these days that if you shoot through your -1, well, not if you have Keen Senses. So this stratagem is amazing. It's amazing on Redemptors. It's amazing on a lot of the other units I use. But if the Leviathan's on the table, that's what you want to use it on, is the Leviathan. Keen Senses is very, very powerful. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I used to really use the stratagem where any Space Wolves unit can heroically intervene. I believe it's countercharge. Yeah, it was 1 CP. Well, they've already leaked. Leaked is a weird word when it's GW just telling us, but GW's already come out and told us that Space Wolves are going to lose their exploding 6s to hit, but what they're gaining is army-wide heroic intervention. They also lose the 6-inch heroic intervention, which is kind of sad, but to make up for it, the entire army can heroically intervene. Amazing. It's amazing. So, yeah, guys, don't feel like just because you're not, Iron Hands or some chapter that really buffs vehicles that you can't run a relic. This relic is essential for my combat units to get there safely because you better believe your opponent basically shoots their entire army at the Relic Leviathan. Um, Let me know, guys. Do any of you guys use relics in your Space Wolves? Um, you will see mine again in a battle report very soon. Um, I can't leave home without it if I'm bringing a strong tournament type list. If I'm not bringing a tournament list, I will swap it out for a repulsor, just a gunboat covered in guns that can hold 10 Primaris. No big deal. No one hates it. People enjoy playing against them, but just a fair warning, it's not the Relic Leviathan is not always the most friendly model. It can just win you the game by itself. It can be a bit overpowered on defense and on offense. But just depends on your neck of the woods. If you're in a meta where everyone brings top tier lists, it's not going to seem that powerful. If you're in a meta where people bring fun, fluffy lists, it might just seem god tier. So you got to be a little careful with this one, guys. That's why I waited to do this little strategy chat because not everyone brings these. They are very powerful. Um, but we're churning through these guys. This is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps. Thanks for chilling with me and hearing about the Relic. Let me know about yours. You can find us on Instagram at beer.batreps, on Facebook if you search Beer and Bat Reps, and just in the comments. I answer all the comments, so let me know. Thanks, guys.